There we go. We should be recording.
All right. I want to thank everybody for being here, for Christina and Shannon for participating in CraftBoston Holiday. I think it's just a CraftBoston Mentorship Program in 2019. This is just a short conversation. We're going to talk about you guys' work and your practice, and we'll go from there. It's going to be pretty casual. Let's start with just having you guys each do a short intro about who you are, where you're from, and your work. We'll start with Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm the designer and maker of Christina Vincent Fine Furniture, fine woodworking, really. I live on the island of North Haven up here in Maine, and welcome to my studio.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And did you build this studio? You came to your practice through carpentry, is that correct?
I did. Well, when I moved to North Haven, I came with a degree in art and design, and there really wasn't much call for that here on the island 14 years ago. So I ended up trying my hand at carpentry, and I really enjoyed it. But a few years later, I ended up I just wanted to expand and do things a little bit more artistic. So I tried fine woodworking and took a bunch of classes at the Center for Furniture Craftsmanship, and it kind of led to me to where I am today.
Great. And Shannon, do you want to give a quick intro?
Sure. I'm a Boston-based glass artist, I guess, and I work out of a studio in Cambridge, Mass. And I just make a variety of glass objects that kind of range from functional pieces such as like barware and stuff to larger vases and things that are just a lot more decorative.
That's great. And then, so we kind of got from Christina about how she got to her practice. Shannon, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, so I guess my first exposure to glass was when I was in high school. And there was a woman in my hometown who ran like a little internship program. And so I started going over to her house after school and just kind of hanging out. And it wasn't a lot of experience, but it was enough to be like, I want to do more of this. And so I ended up going to Mass Art, where they have a glass program, and I studied for 4 years there.
And then actually, this question came up in one of our mix and mingles, which I thought was really great. I was wondering if one of you guys, if you have a favorite object or project that you've been working on since COVID, either of you.
I guess
you go.
Okay. I've just been working on like developing my website and just focusing on ways to promote myself online and just developing like more of a body of work, but I don't know that I have any specific projects that I've been like working on really.
Well, for me, so I own a landscape design company as well, and that people were at their homes tenfold, and they wanted projects done this year. So that took a lot of my time for about 7 months. But always in the back of, this is my winter work. And, it's what Shannon said. I've been doing a lot more networking and promoting myself and kind of getting used to living in a little bit more virtual world. So that's had its ups and downs and obviously challenges. But there's always projects, and having been back in the shop full time for about a month now, I have all these great ideas, because next year, I'm really looking forward to the lineup of shows, projected to happen. And I really hope they do, whether it's online, but I'm really hoping for in person, because it's so much more fun actually speaking with the person, really showing them the work. So it's nothing really in particular. It's just a lot of brainstorming and just getting really ramped up for the next 6 months in my shop.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we've been thinking about. Craft is such a tactile experience, and how do you present that in digital world is something I think we've been thinking about. I think the artists have been thinking about, and using social media and stuff like that. Um, you both you are in different materials, but they actually are kind of interesting in the fact that I feel like they're both far afield from something that would have taken some work to get to. So I was wondering, what drew you to the materials in the first place, what you like about working with glass and what you like about working with wood.
So wood, having been a carpenter and having gotten that exposure, I started to realize the different colors, textures, and patterns that wood could have. And a lot of the time when you look at a piece of wood, it kind of speaks to me about how I want to evolve that piece of wood to the project. Sometimes it's more that versus like, here's the idea, now find the wood. So, that really inspires a lot of the things that I do. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but on this mirror, like it's a curly maple, and it's just like it ripples, and it's just so beautiful. And it's a simple mirror, but it's really dressed up by the wood itself, and that makes it beautiful. And I find that inspiring.
Yeah.
I guess as far as glass goes, I've just always been drawn to the fact that it's just a constant challenge. It's just always evolving. Like you never get to a point where you're like, I know everything and I'm bored and I'm good. You just always can make new pieces and push yourself further with the material. And I think that's just really what draws me to it.
For both of you, I don't know that much about the technical side of both glass work blowing and woodworking. Like, can you give me a little bit, ignore that noise, like a walk through all the steps or some of the steps that go into making a piece so that, the audience has an idea of how these things are created?
Well, you start with lumber, so I, since it's unique to me, I live on an island. I leave my island and I go to a couple specialty stores, people I really like, and the lumber they provide. So I go to like 3 different people for specifics. I mean, it starts there. I know the wood that they have and what I'm really looking for. And then I handpick each piece for its unique qualities. And then when I think of a project, or if the wood inspires a certain project, then you actually have to like cut to rough lengths. Then you mill it. You have to join it, which basically takes out the warp and weft. It makes it level on one side. Then you plane it to your thickness. Then you let it set up, and then you have to do it again. And after that, you start kind of getting closer to the exact measurements, and then adding your your joinery techniques, whether it's mortise and tenon or dovetails, or then it comes into that. And of course you've already, I left out, but you always have to have a plan. Like I draw out my design prior to make sure everything's going to work. So you kind of have your material list, you have your cut list. I mean, it's a process. Going from A to Z is like a million little tiny steps. And then, by the time you've done your glue up and then final coats, you get to stand back and you look at what started as a piece of wood, and now it's a beautiful chair, a beautiful mirror, or, just fun earrings. Like it can be anything.
Yeah.
There's a million steps in between.
Yeah. And it's also, I'm interested in moving from, you using the wood to kind of inspire it, but also woodworking, you have to be very precise. And how do it'd be hard to like draw it out and then also know that you have to stay within these limits. Is that true?
You draw it out. I think you kind of have to. I mean, it can evolve to an extent, but not at some point, if it evolves too much, you'd have to redraw it, because those measurements are so finite, and the angles, just for it to come together, a chair, for instance, to get a proper like seat rest, a comfortable chair has an incline or decline of 15 degrees, and you don't really want to mess that up. You don't want to go 20. I mean, you could. It depends on what chair you're looking at or what feel you want. And it changes dramatically if you just change one of those aspects. So you kind of want to stick to your plan.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm thinking of, you have some pieces where there are very organic shapes that are in them. I mean, like they are the shape of the wood. You've planned around to include, the rough edge of, I assume, how the wood was, right?
True.
And then you also have like where you cut out, and are you like patterning and stuff like that, and making that work with the precise way that you're making a table.
That's true. So in that particular instance, there's a beautiful piece. It's called Flora, and it's on my website. And that piece of wood was a flame birch, and it had so much figure in it. And I just loved the piece, and it was live edge. And I wanted to work around it versus trying to find the design first and use the wood toward it. So the wood itself, I kept as much as I possibly could with the live edge, and then I did a cascading side, just to keep that that feel, that warmth, that like unique quality of that particular piece. And I mean, it can go both ways because like this stool has very straight lines and it's very clean. And in that instance, it was the design, and then I chose the wood that I thought the design would look good for. So I think both come into play.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part of being an artist and having more unique, one-of-a-kind pieces.
Yeah. Shannon, can you tell anything you say I won't know? Can you tell me about your process?
Sure. So we start with a lot of really big, expensive equipment, I guess, and it all runs at a very high temperature. So typically all of our equipment's running at about 2100 degrees. We have furnaces that are holding molten glass, and then we have stations built to reheat the molten glass because it all cools down really quickly once you pull it out of the furnace. And you're manipulating it, you can't touch the material, obviously. So you're manipulating it using a combination of metal and wooden tools, and they're all on the ends of like a 5-foot long steel tube. So basically you're never like able to really touch the material, and it's kind of like honey. So you're just shaping big hot honey, basically. And all my pieces at this point, like pieces I have for sale on the CraftBoston website and that sort of thing, I've made them enough at this point that I know what's going to happen. I know what the glass is going to do. I know how to shape it and control it. But when you start off and you're maybe experimenting with a new piece, playing with new designs, a lot of it, you're kind of at the mercy of the material. You may think it's going to behave one way, and then you actually get into making the piece and you're like, this is not doing what I want it to do. And you have to go back and rethink, like, can I make this? Is it possible? And what do I have to adjust to get it to where I want it to be?
Can you usually remake it, or do you have to start over?
What's that? Can
you usually remake it, or do you need to start over?
Like usually you can remake it. You have to like reevaluate, like, is this idea I had really gonna be as plausible as it was when I thought about doing it in my head?
Yeah. It
seems like a great idea, but maybe it's not.
And one thing I really like about your work, well, there are many things, but your work is very sleek and beautiful, but there are also elements of it that are very funny. Yeah. I find that, and it somehow works together within a body of work. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like they come together, or do you feel like you're making two bodies, or?
It's something I have a hard time with, because I love sleek, elegant, like just good, simple design, but sometimes I just want to make really weird things. And it's definitely confusing, but I do, looking at it, like occasionally I'll look at it from kind of an outside standpoint and I'll be like, it kind of works.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, I haven't quite figured out how it's working yet.
Yeah.
I think it's because even my like kind of more fun, playful things that I make, they're still all based on really simple shapes and forms and designs. They just might be a little more playful than other things.
Yeah. And even in your vase that is very simple looking, you like call it sidecar. It's like it's got both in it.
Yes.
And so your studio, are you in a shared studio then? How has that been impacted by COVID?
We shut down for a couple months. Obviously everything did.
Yeah.
But it's not like a lot of spaces where you can just go in and be alone in the studio. Like Glassworks is very much a team activity. You can do it alone, but it's a lot harder. And it's most of the time just not really worth it. So it's definitely been impacted. At this point, we've just kind of agreed that at the studio, there's just a few of us working, and we've kind of just expanded our bubble to include, the other people. But it's been tough.
Christina, so you said that because of work, the beginning of COVID was crazy. You were working, and that in the winter you're going to be able to get back in the studio. Is that a usual routine for you, and or has it been impacted by COVID? It's some degree, yes, right?
Well, everything's to some degree. When COVID occurred, I had a great lineup of shows, and including going to Boston like right now, and I had prepared my my display pieces. Like I had all that prepared and ready, because knowing where this work is about 6 months and that's about 6 months, my landscape design company, I was about in transition time. So I was kind of ramping up for that. Hopefully in the future this can grow. But anyway, I felt more of the impact when it came time that I knew, some of those shows like Boston went online, and the Philadelphia Museum of Art went online, and the Smithsonian went online. And I definitely felt the hit there, not because of the exposure, but because it's furniture, and I think craft in general is such a personal experience. It's half of it's meeting the artist and really touching, feeling, seeing what's unique and beautiful of that. And a lot of the times, a photo can capture so much, but sometimes you fall in love with someone's work because you fall in love with that person.
Yeah.
And I think that, I really miss that connection with people. So going into the winter, I'm really excited to start creating again, and just be back in the shop, because I love the intimacy of wood. Like wood's such a personal, warm thing to work with.
Yeah. So speaking of, the shows, you guys were both at CraftBoston 2019. How was that experience? And looking back on it with everything in context, how does that change what you're going to do moving forward? And has COVID changed it doesn't sound like for you, Christina, it's changed how you see shows, your relationship to shows in the future, but I know a lot of other artists have kind of started moving online more and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just wondering about that.
Well, I'm ramping up to have a bigger studio space. So I'm very positive about the creative work that I'm doing and will continue to do. Yes, my online presence is growing, and I have a website, and I do use other avenues to promote my work, and that's growing as well. I think having a balance between being hopeful that shows will start once again and the online presence, I think that's kind of the going forward, that's kind of the new normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Christina. I feel like I've really, CraftBoston 2019 was really helpful in just getting me more comfortable doing shows and getting out there and like promoting my work, which is something I really didn't have any experience with prior to that. And 2020 has been a lot more about being online, building my website. I started doing some like online sale things like Purple Home. And that's been going really well, and getting more into trying to use Instagram as a business thing. But I'm still hopeful for what shows will be in the future.
Yeah.
Still looking forward to CraftBoston Winter next year.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that, especially in the mentorship program, because you are connected to an artist, but in CraftBoston in general is there's that sense of you're in a community and you're with other artists, and there's just this buzz vibe of everyone being united together. Have you been able to keep any craft community in the last 6 months?
Well, for me, I mean, I have my community at the studio, and I still see like 2 or 3 of them every day. I don't really see anybody else, but I see them. So I do still have a little bit of that community, even if it's just a lot smaller. It's just more concentrated than it was before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm really grateful. I live on an island, and it's a very creative island. Not everybody goes to CraftBoston or shows or whatnot, but we have a very rich art community, and we do a lot throughout the year to promote our artists. And I was really, as I said, grateful to be here and still be able to connect with all of them for inspiration and encouragement, and vice versa. I was still able to hold a show here at a gallery, and that was wonderful. I mean, people came in, it was definitely a more spaced out event, and people were very polite, and they'd wait outside so there'd be at capacity, and you actually really had great conversations just one-on-one, taking someone around and showing your pieces. So that, as I said, being able to be in a small community that's very supportive has been great.
Actually, I've wanted to know this for a little bit. Can you tell a little bit more about like how many people live on your island?
So year round, normally we're about 350. More people stayed this year, so there's about 400 people. We're really a summer community. There's a couple thousand people that live here for about 4 months out of the year. They come from all over. And I mean, it's like raw natural beauty. You can just, like right now, I can go for a walk on the umpteen trails we have, and I don't see anyone. I could go for a run down the street and I'm not passed by a car. And yet you can go onto our Facebook page, and you still feel connected. And I mean, the community center's open. It's a very different way of life. You have to take a ferry a lot of the time to go get your errands done on the mainland. It's an hour boat ride, but it kind of gives you a transition time from like normalcy or like real world. And then you come here and you have, I mean, I have plenty of time to create. That's what it is. I mean, I create in the summer and then I create in the winter, and it's really a unique lifestyle.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, it seems like, do people have to wear masks there, or are you all in one giant bubble together?
No, people are wearing masks for sure. I mean, that's definitely still, I see my husband without a mask, but that's completely different. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Anyway.
So we were going to do this for about 30 minutes, but I wanted to ask you each if you have any projects that you're working on right now, even if it's still in the forming phase or anything like that you want to talk about.
I feel like right now I'm like just trying to get through the holidays.
I saw, Shannon, on Instagram that you are doing some ornaments.
I am doing some ornaments. If anyone's interested, they're called holiday boobles.
Yeah.
Or maybe ornamelons. I feel like the name might describe themselves. Yeah, you know, they're just just your classic ornament with you know, the little twist that you can, you know, hang on your tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's been kind of my side project lately. I feel like I was just going crazy making just very refined, like simple things. And I was like, I just need to make something really weird and stupid. And it's been going really well. I think next year I'm going to put more effort into like promoting them. You know, maybe they'll get their own Instagram. I'm not sure. Maybe do some wholesale stuff, but it was kind of a last minute thing for the holidays this year, but it's been going well.
Yeah.
Yeah, been profitable so far.
Good.
Yeah.
So for me, since I jumped back into woodworking, I had a handful of orders that needed to get out this month. I just had a beautiful table, went to sunny California. I was a little jealous. I wanted to jump in the box, but so that went out. I'm working on a couple of, as I said, custom pieces, but for like the fun holiday gifts, because it's kind of a time when people think of like, oh, I want to give a gift. And, you know, sometimes furniture is such a big, it's a commitment piece, or it's a very personal thing. Right now, like I do color boards. These are really fun cutting boards, or like cheese platters. Those are wonderful to, it's always a gift, and like really just fun earrings. It's those little things that, I kind of focus on more in December, because that's what people really enjoy, these fun homemade gifts.
Yeah. I was talking about that with another artist about how you change what you're making through the season, especially with the holidays. And then another artist mentioned their relationship with custom work and how they like the collaborative experience of working with someone and having that other part and element in the work. Do you feel that way as you're doing custom furniture?
Well, it's very rare that someone is like cut and dry and comes to me like, this is exactly what I want. Yeah. It's more like they saw something I did and they love that, but they wanted a little bit more to their specifications, or they love an aspect of this piece and an aspect of that piece. Can I put it together? Yeah. And I find that to be fun. I like it. Sometimes they give me when someone gives me more of the dimensions, and they kind of let me go from there, or they pick the wood and the dimensions. I enjoy having some free reign over the creativity. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for sometimes when they want custom from an artist.
Yeah. They're not buying from IKEA or anything. I think they want that relationship. They want some of your work that like they can put in their house in a spot. And so,
but it's more fun in the aspect that they're excited about it, which gets you excited about it. So you've already like found a home. These things are going to somebody's home, and you've already found their home, and you just like can't wait to see the picture of how they're going to display it, and you get to see that, and they love it. And that's what I find exciting. Like really, that's what excites me.
Do you have, I know we're wrapping this up, but do you have any works in your own home? I found since COVID, because I'm home so much more, that my artwork and my craft pieces matter much more to me. I feel like better, and like the people I love are around me because they're in my home. Do you have a version of that in your own life at all?
I definitely have a lot of pieces, and really quick, the first piece I ever made was my coffee table. I still have this coffee table, and it was put together with screws and fasteners. I don't do that anymore, but that was my starting point. And, someone complimented it and really encouraged me to like go forward with that. And that kind of like gave me the courage to do so. I mean, I have other pieces. I've built my, my kitchen island, my entertainment center, like side tables, and I do them custom to me. And, I get to choose, and it's so much fun. And sometimes I make some pieces to know, like, if it doesn't sell, I can use that. Like, I sometimes have that in my mind as like a little selfish, but that's okay. But yes, I mean, it's half the fun of doing it is being able to enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Shannon, do you have any sort of items that you've held dear in this moment or anything like that?
Pieces that I've made or that other people have made?
Both. Any
Okay,
answer is
because
great.
I love collecting other people's work. And I have tons of things around my house that other people have made, whether it be like trades I did, you know, with people at craft schools or that sort of thing, or just wherever. I don't have a ton of my own work, but I have a lot of like cups and things that I've made, mostly cups that you make, and they're just one-offs at the end of the day or whatever. And you're like, I could bring, I'm not going to sell this. It's not going to be a product, but I can bring it home and enjoy drinking out of it. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you both for being here and participating in our mentorship program. I've loved working with you guys for the last year. And if you have anything else you want to add, feel free to do it. But I think we're going to stop recording after that.
Well, I want to say thank you. I've appreciated all the energy and all the resources and everything you've done to kind of keep not just us, but artists in general going. And everyone at CraftBoston, thank you so much. And I really look forward to being in person next year.
Yeah, same. I'm looking forward to next year, but I appreciate, yeah, everything you guys have done and trying, you know, still keeping a community together and building a community through, you know, the past year. But I'm excited for next year.
Yeah, we're all excited.
We're all excited for next year.
All right, well, Molly, can you
Absolutely.